Namaskaram, everyone. So recently, one of our Anna, he quoted a quote from Ramana Maharshi, and the quote goes like this: "Whatever is destined not to happen will not happen. Try as you may. Whatever is destined to happen will happen. Do what you may to prevent it. This is certain. The best course, therefore, is to remain silent." So, this is the flaw of the seeker. A seeker, a true seeker, is actually not interested in answers. The seeker is interested only in knowing. And to understand this, we need to reflect that each individual has their own tendencies and their own karmas. And because of that reason, although each and every individual has the same true nature, which is also referred as the creator or the Brahman or divine itself, but since it's unmanifested in almost everyone, let's look at from the perspective of the path, how one individual takes. Just like I said, each individual has got their own tendencies. For this simple reason, they all follow certain route. So when it comes to Ramana Maharshi, he was my guru before I met Sadhguru. So he actually gave me a spiritual experience, and that is how I understood the significance of Sadhguru. Keeping that aside, most of the people think that Ramana Maharshi, as they know, meditated for nearly 15-16 years, non-moving. And most of the people also think that Ramana Maharshi is a jnani also. So it might look he is a dhyana yogi or a meditator or a jnana yogi. But I'll tell you, he's neither. Ramana Maharshi, if you read the biography, autobiography, or whatever you want to say, Ramana Maharshi was a devotee, foremost. It is said that since he was, if you don't know, his birth name, what was given to his parents, was Venkataraman Iyer. So he was from Madurai. So in his biography, it is said that he used to go to the Meenakshi Amman temple, which is the largest Devi temple in the world. So Meenakshi Amman temple is a temple for Parvati. And it is said that he used to go there and sit in front of the idol, the deity. We don't know what experiences he went through, but once he realized, and it is said that he was very much influenced by all the stories of Nanyars, the saints, the Tamil saints, were all devotees. So Ramana Maharshi was a devotee foremost. And as I speak, I go through the trance kind of states, the presence. So once Ramana Maharshi had this spiritual experience that he was not the body and he was not the mind and he was beyond both, that was the time of his enlightenment. And he was still in Madurai. But when he met his uncle, and then he asked his uncle that where he came from. And at that time his uncle said that he actually came from Arunachala, the holy place of Arunachala. At this time, while Ramana, or at the time his name was Venkataramanayar, for him he had just heard the stories about the Arunachala. He didn't thought that like Arunachala is actually a place. So I just want to keep this story short, and when he heard about this, there is a lot of story. I don't want to go into too much detail. And he took the train, he left his family, and he went to Tiruvannamalai. And where he got off, he went inside the shrine, into the sanctorum, hugged the Lord Arunachaleswara Lingam. And when he came out, he threw away his Brahmin thread. He said that, I've gone beyond everything. And I will tell you, he went on to meditate in one of the corners, Patalalingam, I believe, of the Arunachaleswara temple. If you visit over there, you can still find it. So there are a long story, but I will tell you that he never went back to the sanctorum again. For him, it was done. He came home. And after a long period of time, after he started the Ramana Maharshi ashram, because of his prolonged duration of nirvikalpa samadhis, a part of his body was not much functional. He rarely spoke because he had nothing else to do left in his life. But devotees would pour, and after a long time, when he started getting old, but even at that time, he used to every evening or at sort of time, he used to climb the Arunachala temple hill, Arunachala hill. And it is said that for him, Arunachala was the Shivam himself. When he said Shivam, he was not referring to the Mahadeva as we know, but the Supreme Consciousness. And he always thought that Lord Arunachala was his guru. And even though he was unable to walk in his old age, he used to crawl up, and his devotees would ask him, Ramana Maharshi, you are like a god to us. You are actually a god to us. You are a Bhagwan. But why you crawl up? Ramana Maharshi would still crawl up. He wouldn't listen to his devotees. And this was that he was a devotee. Although most of the people think that he was a jnani, used to tell everything, whatever people ask, he would answer everything. But he's a devotee. But he gave this practice of who am I, which he also used the method to know his truth. But foremost, he was a devotee. Now coming back to the question, the destiny. What Ramana Maharshi says is, you don't need to intervene with anything. You don't need to do anything. If you just sit silently, and everything, whatever needs to happen will happen. But you need to understand that the language of the beings in the peak and the beings they are who are in the dark alleys of the valley are completely different. People walking in the dark alleys in the peak, in the valleys, most of them have strongly identified with their body, with their possessions and whatnot. So once in a while, a sun ray or a glimpse may enter into the darkest corners in the valleys, but the one who has reached the peak has seen it all. This is why what we know as the self-realization and enlightenment, what all the Gurus says is that there is nowhere to go, there's nowhere to achieve, nothing to do actually. It is right here, effortless. You don't need to do sadhana, you don't need to do meditation and everything. But they are speaking from the peak. When they have reached there, they have seen how foolish they were. How foolish they were to do all types of sadhana, all type of tricks and everything. It is not necessary, but without devotion, you cannot come to that state where you are completely in the state of non-doing, which is, Lao Tzu also says, Wu Wei. You don't need to do anything. Everything is happening by itself. That's the entire thing of meditation. But that is the language of the enlightened beings. It is not the language of the people who are entangled in 1,001 ways. It's not the language for them. For them, they have got a lot of karmas in momentum. And in unawareness, they go on piling up new karmas and everything. And another thing is, Ramana Maharshi had no gurus, at least in physical form, who could speak with him. His devotion, Arunachala, in his own words, was the guru. Possibly his past life karmas or the grace. He was born in Madurai and the grace of Meenakshi Amman and the another form of the Shivam, the Sundareswarar, might have propelled him towards that state where the physicality had no influence on him. But when it comes to, for example, in the context of Sadhguru, when he says, the destiny is your own making, he's speaking to the people who are deeply entangled. He's not speaking to the enlightened people, enlightened being. For the one who have tasted the glory of the raw Sadhguru, who have known Sadhguru to his totality, the sadhana is just to create the access to the Guru. It will not take you anywhere because there is nowhere to go. All the source, the destination, the coming and going, these are all made up in the head. All made up in the head. So another thing is, Sadhguru is the purest Kriya Yogi there is. Purest Kriya Yogi there is. And because of his unbounded love, because in his context, he does not see a difference between you and him. That's why he wants your karma to dissolve as quickly as possible. And there are two ways to do it. Either you dissolve on your own, which requires a lot of sadhana, and possibly you don't have that intensity or the clarity, you are asking this question. You want to have a shortcut. But Ramana never had a shortcut. Never had. He forgot about food, he forgot about his family, he forgot even his body. He was so much dissolved into the supreme consciousness, so much dissolved in Shivam that rest didn't matter to him. But he still had some karma left. That's how he was still holding on to the body. Maybe not conscious way, but that was his way. And in terms of Sadhguru, Sadhguru is the most total guru there is, what I have came through. I've read about many gurus, I've been to many energy places, I've had many experiences in many places, even before Sadhguru. But Sadhguru is the most total of them all. Because he can address each and every one individually based on their karma, based on their stuff. And Sadhguru only came, he is still here only because of Dhanalinga and whatever came out of that. But his time is running out, not yours. His time is running out, holding on to this fragile body, although more robust than ours, more competent than ours. But he's holding on to this body just because of pure perception that for him, you are no different, because he's no different from you. Now, if you have watched enough videos or you have attended advanced programs, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do you want to become liberated, or you just want to have a good time here? If you want to become liberated, you should drop everything what you have learned so far once you have found your guru. You should leave everything behind what you have learned so far. Whether it was good, it was bad, it was very useful in the past. Because whatever you have learned in the past, if it was useful, you would not need your current guru, who is Sadhguru. And you came to Sadhguru only because whatever you used in the past may have entertained you, may be useful of some value. It was no longer useful. And when you come to someone when you don't know, you don't use your own mind. You just be available to him. And now coming back to the destiny part. As we already know from Sadhguru's discourses, and even from your own experience also, if you are aware, everything is repetitive, going nowhere. Now, there are two ways to it. One way is to take things in your own hands and dissolve it. And the other way is actually more difficult. Not to do anything and let the karma take care of itself. Ramana actually took the second way, which is actually more difficult. And why I tell you so difficult is, it is not because of you it is difficult. It is because of the karma and the body you are holding at the moment. And for Ramana, it was not difficult per se, because he was a devotee. He was a devotee. He didn't saw anything else than the Arunachala. He didn't saw anything else than Arunachala. But us, we see too many things. Divided, so much divided. So all these sadhana, whatever name we think, whatever practices we do, is nothing to gather everything at one place. Gather everything at one place and exhaust them. Either you exhaust them through physical action, through perception, through devotion, or through energy process, or pure inaction, whichever way. If you just sit in the meditation for a long time, for an extended period of time, all the karma that are in momentum, how strong they are, will eventually lose its momentum. But the question is, are you capable of being in that state? No. That is where we use Kriya Yoga. And through Kriya Yoga, we develop the ability to have a glimpse of the beyond, to experience the grace of the Guru. And that is where we develop devotion. Without devotion, there is no nischalana tattvam jivan mukti. Whether you know it or not, the mantras or the shlokas or anything or not, if you have a Guru, there is nothing for you to do. Actually, there is nothing to be done for anyone else. It is just a circus of the mind and the body, and mostly the social programming, which is nothing more than a survival process. So, if you can sit down, the destiny will take care by itself. If you do your sadhana, it will accelerate. The only thing is, do you want to do on your own? Or you want to be available to the grace? Ramana was indeed available to the grace. And if you have read about the devotees, about Ramana, of the likes of Annamalai Swami, Ganapati Muni, Punja Papaji, and so many others. And if you know about the Chinmayananda, they all got the glimpse of the beyond just by the mere look of the Bhagwan, without doing anything. It could give you that experience. But did it last it to you for long? Yes, for devotees it did. But for others, they had to work on it. For example, Papaji had to exhaust all his practices before he came to realization with Ramana. After several encounters, he could finally accept Ramana as his Guru. There were many who were very much mature spiritually and came to Ramana and got their final enlightenment, while some had to leave, find another Guru and get the same experience after a lot of toils of sadhana. For example, Chinmayananda was one of them, who got the experience from Bhagwan during his teenage years. And later on, he went to the Rishikesh, where Swami Sivananda recommended him to Swami Tapovanam. And after years of sadhana in the banks of the Ganges or Ganga, he got the experience, and he later said that it was the same experience which was given by the Bhagwan. So it depends. Whether you want to walk, you want to fly, you want to crawl, or simply become the vehicle for the divine or the Guru. And ironically, Swami Tapovanam also had the encounter with the Ramana Maharshi, for which both of them did not exchange any words. And same thing would happen if Ramana and Sadhguru would meet. There is nothing to exchange. There is nothing to discuss. Because all these other things are for the people who are crawling, who are slugging it out in the dark valleys, where once in a while one ray comes over there. They realize there is something else possible but their own karmas, because this attitude that whatever happens will happen, and they go back slumbering into the darkness. If you are able to do the grace, nothing to be done, but you should be in a state where you don't complain. And you cannot complain, because a devotee has come to the state where all the circus, what he was doing his entire life, led nowhere. And paradox is, there is nowhere to go actually. But the state is different. When you are in the valleys, if you have nowhere to go, you feel trapped. But if you are in the peaks, and you come to the realization there is nowhere to go, it's the liberation. It's the liberation.